Señoras y señores, tengan ustedes muy buenos
Ladies and
días.
gentlemen, good morning.
Sean bienvenidos a esta conferencia
We
de
welcome
prensa
you all to
posterior
this
a la
press
reunión
conference
bilateral de
after
gran
the
importancia para
bilateral
el
meeting,
fortalecimiento
which
de los
was of a
lazos
very
entre Uruguay
high
y
level,
Alemania. Nos
to
honra contar con
strengthen
la
links
presencia del
between
señor
Uruguay
presidente de la
and
República
Germany.
Oriental
We
del
have
Uruguay,
the
profesor
presence of
Yamandu
the
Orsi,
President
y
of
del
the
señor
Oriental
presidente de
Republic
la
of
República
Uruguay,
Federal de
Professor
Alemania,
Yamandu
señor
Orsi,
Frank
and the
Walter
President of
Steinmeier.
Germany, Steinmeier.
De ambos mandatarios, habrá tiempo para
Considering
preguntas,
what we agreed before, after the speeches of both presidents, we will have some time for questions, 2 questions from journalists from Uruguay and 2 questions from journalists from other countries. Your Excellency, Mr. President of the Federal Republic of Germany, Steinmeier, distinguished members of the delegation and distinguished authorities, it's a privilege and an honor for me to welcome you to our country on behalf of our people and our government. I would like to express my most sincere gratitude for your presence and for your delegation accompanying you in this very important occasion. Your participation in the ceremony was a very important moment for our nation and represents a lot of mutual respect that we value a lot. This act symbolizes democracy, institutions, and respect for the values of our society, values that our countries share and defend. In that regard, we especially value the fact that your visit is happening just few days after the federal elections in your country. Therefore, we congratulate and thank you. Exactly 40 years ago, we restored democracy in Uruguay after 11 dark and long years of dictatorship. On this occasion, I'd like to express how proud we are, and we are supporting and defending democracy firmly. What is more, we are aware that we need to work every day to defend democracy because we are with firm conviction that democracy guarantees access to justice, independence, and equal opportunities for everyone. We are also aware that your presence here is very valuable to express together the importance of conclude the signature of the agreement between the Mercosur, the Southern Common Market, and the European Union. It has been a process that lasted more than 25 years, and wrapping this up represents a very important advance for our countries, and the support of Germany was and will be fundamental. This is one of the main priorities in terms of foreign policy for Uruguay, and this is extremely relevant at the international arena due to the geopolitical context that we have and the different values of community that unites the European Union and the countries of the Southern Common Market. Germany and Uruguay, European Union and Mercosur believe in an order of international rules, the respect of international law, integrity, territorial integrity of states, human rights, and sustainable development. This is what we are defending with this agreement. Mutual strengthening of governments that are sharing fundamental principles and value for peaceful living in this world. We need to think about the future, and we are projecting this community of millions of people that 3 months ago here in Montevideo, in 6th of December, I was a protagonist, and I thank the former president who invited me to the meeting, and then was when we signed the agreement. And I want to highlight the commitment of Uruguay to boost in the parliament the ratification of this agreement that will be a highlight for our country, and we are sure that democratic parties in our country will follow this. On behalf of Uruguayan people, we thank Germany and your support to wrap up negotiations, and we continue with the firm belief that together the Southern Common Market and the European Union will reach a better and sustainable future for everyone. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for being here.
Präsident Orsi, ich will Ihnen zu Anfang ganz herzlich danken für die Einladung in Ihr
Esteemed President Orsi, first of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation to coming to your country. And due to your assumption yesterday and your designation yesterday, I would like to thank to all your delegation and my delegation as well, because I had the chance to be here, and I wish all the best and all the success during your mandate. I'm also very happy because you welcomed me in your first day as an official guest. Since the beginning of your mandate, we can take care of bilateral relations between our countries and strengthen the bilateral relations. And I am saying this because I know that the last visit of the Federal Republic of Germany presidents was more or less 10 years ago. It's a very long time. And it is especially important for me to share a symbol, a sign, because Germany is deeply interested in strengthening relations with Uruguay. I would like to express this in a very open way. German people appreciate Uruguay, not only because of the tradition in football that you have, not only because of tango or mate drink, or many other links that we have between our countries. More than 10,000 German people, and that is what I was told, is the number of the people in the German community in Uruguay that we have. And we know that your country, even though it's small, has very great highlights and achievements. Yesterday, we were present at a party of democracy. We participated at the parliament, then we were here at Independence Square in the open air. And we were able to see that people have a very deep and rooted democratic conviction. And probably this is not something very common, considering what we see in the world. In many countries, democracy is questioned due to extremist and other nationalist parties. And here in Uruguay, people are very convinced of democracy. And they are saying this with a very assertive manner. Uruguay is very reliable, and in many aspects, it is a very good example for the region. That is why I would like to thank you, Mr. President. I am also very grateful because of Uruguay's commitment in terms of multilateralism. In other words, commitment towards the United Nations, because you have kept all the rules at a very high stage, all the rules that states have to respect, of course. And I am also saying this considering human rights, strengthening of democracy, protection of the environment. In our days, international arena and United Nations system itself has been questioned. For that reason, cooperation between Europe and America, South America, Germany and Uruguay, Europe and Uruguay is extremely relevant. In times of global transformation, this is very decisive. Being able to count on partners with whom we share the same values and interests is extremely valuable as well. On the other hand, Uruguay and Germany also share their stances on foreign policy as well. This is being very clearly highlighted in our discussions, considering our posture on the war between Russia and Ukraine, from Russia against Ukraine, and the Middle East as well. We are very far from reaching or achieving peace. We also discuss a little bit about China and the role of the new government in the United States. And you just mentioned it, Mr. President. I am sure that we will be able to strengthen and deepen our economic relations. This agreement of association between European Union and the Southern Common Market, it is an extremely important event, and Germany is defending this agreement also among the members of European Union that are hesitating a little bit. And here we are in Montevideo, where the agreement was signed last year. So I would like to reinforce the fact that we want and we need this agreement with the Southern Common Market, because we will be able to create one of the biggest and greatest free trade agreements in the world with millions of inhabitants. Just the trade volume between Germany and the countries of the Southern Common Market has increased to $24 billion. And due to reduction in tariffs, we are expecting a huge save in that regard. Germany, it's the sixth trade partner from Uruguay. We are exporting chemicals, pharmaceutical products, and we are importing wool, many textile products, and many other resources from your country. And I'm convinced that the agreement will also boost bilateral trade and bilateral commerce. We are very interested in broadening the economic cooperation with Uruguay. This is one of the many reasons that we are here. We are not only here with a delegation of other political authorities, but we also have a very numerous delegation of companies from Germany. Mr. President Orsi, thank you very much one more time. I thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak with you today on the very first day of your mandate. Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this huge party of democracy here in Uruguay. And I hope to see you soon again, this time in Germany. Thank you very much. We thank the words of the Mr. President of Germany, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, and we open the floor for questions. 2 questions from journalists from Uruguay and 2 questions from Germany. Please mention the newspaper or TV channel that you're representing. Let's start with Germany, please.
Nachrichtenmagazin, der Spiegel, Gerald Traufetter. Eine Frage.
Spiegel is my name, and I have one question. Because yesterday, the ceremony of designation was very peaceful, lots of harmony, and I would like to ask you if this is like the rule, is this common, or it was just an exception? And I would like to know if you think that the agreement with the Southern Common Market will be ratified. First of all, if this is normal, of course, we wouldn't have spoken about it. Of course, we do know that the style of the ceremony that was conducted yesterday here in Uruguay is a little bit special, and I was telling to Mr. President Orsi the fact that he mentioned the former presidents from other political parties as well, and the way that the different political parties are interacting during the ceremony of the president's designation. It is a great example. And this is something that we wish to see in other democracies as well. Of course, Uruguay's example has contributed to keep democracy very strong. Then regarding Mercosur, I think that we agree fully that Uruguay and Germany are both hugely interested in ratifying the agreement as soon as possible so that it enters into force as soon as possible as well. But of course, in Europe, we still have to work a little bit on coordination with other member states. I have already conveyed to Mr. President that we are going to work on that so that all the member states of the Mercosur and European Union can take advantage of all the benefits that the agreement will bring. Good morning. My name is Arina Yeste from France Press Agency. Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to know what is your opinion on Milei statements yesterday regarding the Mercosur and his intention to abandon Mercosur and how this could go in detriment of this agreement with the European Union. For a very long time, we've heard different voices or different opinions questioning the Mercosur as a tool. In many cases, we have heard different proposals to change the way of integration processes or how they work. In other cases, we've heard also people saying that this tool doesn't work. We are concerned and we are intending to keep the different linkages and ties with the region, and we have been articulating this very well. And of course, I do believe that the best possible signal that we could have in this regard was the last summit that we had here in Montevideo, apart from the agreement with the European Union, of course. And then we pass on the pro tempore presidency from Uruguay to Argentina, and President Milei was very clear about that. Of course, he was objecting on the different ways that we have gone through the process of Mercosur. Maybe we can share some of his thought or maybe not, and we should analyze it. But I do think that the commitment that we have is something that we need to strengthen and we need to take into account, that we should move forward. And Mercosur shouldn't be a stopping point. Of course, this is a daily task. We need to try and be on the same page, channel possibilities so that Mercosur can find outside other possibilities. Good morning. I have one question for Mr. President of Germany. It is on behalf of a group of journalists from Uruguay. We are coordinated. And we want to ask you specifically in regard of the statement of Milei president. He said that if he was able to reach an agreement with the United States, maybe he would leave. And we want to know if it will affect, how much it will affect the agreement, and if it could possibly delay the signature of the agreement. From my perspective, it is clear that when one of the important or big countries, whether in the European Union or in the Southern Common Market, leaves the agreement, of course it will have consequences. It will affect the plan that we have. But right now we are in a phase in which Uruguay, Germany, South America, and Europe are trying to advocate for those other countries that are hesitating a little bit so that they do not prioritize their questions or concerns, and they can realize the different benefits or advantages that the agreement will bring for both sides, for both parties, both European Union and Mercosur. And we have a big commitment, not only because we signed a political agreement here in Montevideo, but also because we are firmly convinced that this is the right path forward. And that is why we are committed to convince others as well. Alejandro Rebosio from Dolce Vele. I would like to ask to Mr. President Steinmeier the same question. That is why I will ask a question to Mr. President Orsi instead. What will you do to try and convince Argentina to stay in the Southern Common Market if Mercosur allows Argentina to have an agreement with the United States outside the commercial bloc? This discussion is again on the table when we have been discussing, for instance, the possibility of having bilateral relations with China before, if it was possible or not, and how will this work internally in the Mercosur so that we can move forward towards an agreement. In this case, we are talking about Argentina and United States, but before we were talking about the Uruguayan government with the Chinese government. And this is a discussion that should be conducted within the Southern Common Market, and we will analyze and assess what is the margin that we have. Of course, it's not the same situation when we talk about a country like Uruguay with 3 million inhabitants or Argentina with 40-something million inhabitants. Then another market and another power like the Mercosur itself. And we have 300 million inhabitants. I am sure that these discussions will continue. Probably other discussions in this regard will come up, and there are other possible agreements with other regions of the world. And during these last days, we were able to speak to other representatives from other regions, Asia, Middle East, the Arab world, and they're interested in strengthening ties with Uruguay and with the Mercosur as well. So this discussion that came up and arose yesterday with the Argentinian government is again the same discussion. How restricted are we, or how many restrictions does the Mercosur implies or not? And in my opinion, we should try to take advantage of the benefits of a power like the Mercosur as a whole with 300 million inhabitants. In that way, we close the press conference, and we would like to thank all the journalists from Uruguay and Germany and their presence this morning. Thank you.